Hey everybody, it's Miss Julie from the Carnegie Center in New Albany, Indiana, which is right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. Did you know that bookmaking can be an art form, just like sculpture or drawing or painting or printmaking? That's right, bookmaking can be an art form, and usually the materials that you use for bookmaking are paper. So this is an activity where we're going to make a little book, and it's inspired by a special type of book called Jacob's Ladder, which is a traditional form of bookmaking or a traditional type of book. And this is actually a variation on that I call the History Mystery Book. And the thing that's cool about it is that it has a secret compartment. So let me just show you. For example, this one is called The History and Mystery of Lucy Higgs Nichols, who you guys learned about. She is a woman who escaped from slavery and settled in New Albany, and we have an exhibit about her at the Carnegie Center. So you take a look, and when you open it up, it says history. So this is the history part. And for the history, I just wrote something that I remembered about Lucy's story, or a part of her story that really resonated with me. And that's what you guys can do. So this says, Lucy ran away from slavery with her baby Mona and became a nurse in the Civil War. So we know that there's some other things that happened to Lucy, but that's kind of like the main gist of it. So I drew a picture of what I imagined that to look like: mountains and trees and Lucy, some flowers that look sort of like the feverfew flowers that we learned about in the presentation. And that's the end of the book. It says by Julie Leidner, that's me. But I told you that there is a secret compartment in this type of book. So let's find it. You open it up and you can see there's a crack here. And if you bend it and look carefully, you can see that there's sort of a way to loosen that up. You get your finger in there and peel it open. We have a secret other part of the book. This is where we can write the mystery or the thing that we don't know about Lucy's story. And for me, one of the biggest questions I have about Lucy's story is about what her life was like before she escaped. So I wrote, we don't know what Lucy's life was like when she was young and enslaved, or if she left any loved ones behind when she escaped. So I have a picture of her as an older woman looking out the window of her house and thinking back to the time when she was still living on a farm as an enslaved person prior to the Civil War. And maybe these are some family members. We just don't know. We don't know if she left behind anybody. Well, we may never know, but that's what historians do, is they try to solve mysteries. So we have the mystery, and I'm going to close that back up and fold it back to the history. So our mystery is in the secret compartment. Now you can do this with Lucy's story, or you can do this with your own self, your own story. You can have kind of a little mini book that says one thing on the cover and the inside, but then on the secret part it has something totally different. So follow along with my instructions to learn how to make your very own history mystery book. Okay, we're going to start making the history mystery book. What you need is a piece of paper and a pair of scissors, a pencil, and some type of glue. You can use Elmer's liquid glue, you can use rubber cement, or the best thing to use would just be a glue stick. So for your piece of paper, what you're ultimately going to need to do is cut it into 4 equal squares, about 3 inches by 3 inches. One long fat strip, 9 inches long, 1.5 inches wide, and 2 skinny strips, 9 inches long, 1/2 inch wide each. We have printout that you can find and print out where you don't have to actually measure these, and then you can just cut them out yourself. Or you can measure them at home. And again, it's 4 squares, 3 inches by 3 inches, 1 long, 9 by 1.5, 2 long, 9 by 1/2. Now, you may say, Miss Julie, I have a piece of paper, but I don't have a ruler, and you know, I don't have anything to measure it out exactly. So if that's you, I am going to show you how to measure out all those pieces without a ruler, just using a piece of paper. So if you are one of the lucky people who already have a printout and you can go ahead and cut them out, you can go ahead and do that and skip ahead. But I'm going to start now showing you how to cut the pieces we need out of one blank piece of paper. Okay? Got it in front of you? All right. You're going to fold it in half. You know, folding it in half this way. Crease it. Now unfold it. So we have this line going down the middle, and you can lightly, very carefully outline that so you don't lose it. So we know that our square, we want to make a big square. It's going to be that wide, and we want it to be the same tall as it is wide. So I want you to grab a second piece of paper, any color, and this is going to be your fake ruler real quick, okay? So take your fake ruler and line it up with your paper and make a little mark where that halfway point is. Okay, so I have a little mark there. So now I know that I want my square to be that tall. So I'm going to turn my paper to the side, line it up with the corner, find the mark down here, and mark on the white page. So now I know how tall my square is going to be. I'm actually going to do that on the other side of the square, so I'm going to line it up with my middle fold, find the mark on my fake ruler, mark it on my white piece of paper. Okay, so now I have marks on my paper showing me where I'm going to draw the line across the bottom of this. Use my fake ruler as a little straight edge. Draw a straight line. So now I have a big square that is equal sizes on all sides. And I'm going to cut that out and leave the paper, the rest of the paper intact, because we're going to use the rest of the paper for other parts. Cut that out. Set this aside for now. All right, so we have a big square. We're going to turn it into 4 squares. And I think you guys are smart enough to know how to do that. Yep, we're going to fold it in half once. And we're going to fold it in half twice. Fold it the other way this time. Now open it back up, and you can see our lines where we can cut our squares. So be as careful as you can. We want good craftsmanship here, and that takes patience and being very careful and knowing that it is not a race. You can pause this video anytime you want and go at your own pace. So there we have it, our 4 equal squares that we did without a real ruler. So set those aside, you will need those. And then get that piece of paper back. Now we're going to do our long skinny pieces that we need. Let's start by folding up from the bottom just a little skinny piece. Like skinny, like 1/2 inch, or like the size of your like pinky nail. or the size of your thumbnail if you have small thumbs. It's just a little skinny piece, and we're gonna cut. We're gonna cut that out. Set it aside, and we're gonna do that again because we need 2 skinny pieces. So fold up a little piece from the bottom of your paper. They don't have to be perfectly straight. You want to make it as straight as you can. The straighter you get it, the nicer your book will look at the end. But who said it has to be perfect? It does not. So we're going to cut that out. And then we have one fat, long, skinny piece. So this one you're going to fold up the bottom and make it fatter than the other 2. It can be like double the size of the other 2. Crease that. See? And now I'm going to cut that. Mine are not perfectly straight, as you can see, but that's okay. You can use a ruler to do that if you want yours to be really straight. So, problem is these are a little longer than we really want them to be. So I'll tell you a secret of how long we want these to be. We want these to be 3 times as long as our square. So you can just measure it by hand. So you can kind of go 1, put your finger there, 2, put your finger there, 3. And I'm going to take my pencil and mark that. So it's about 3 times as long as the square. And I'm going to cut that off. And I'll use that to measure my other 2. We want all of our little long skinny pieces to be the same length. So you can line them up, mark them, or you can just gather them and carefully cut them. Put your scraps away, and there we have it. We have 2 skinny long pieces, 1 fat long piece, and 4 squares. And remember, these long pieces are 3 times the width of the square. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. We've got our pieces and we are ready to move on to making our book. Okay, now that you have all of your pieces cut out, you have your 4 squares and your 3 long pieces, 1 wide, 2 skinny. We're going to start gluing, and I would like you to put a protective piece of paper on the table so that you don't get glue on the surface that you're working on. So you're going to start with 1 of the squares and your 2 long skinny pieces. So you put your square in the middle, put your 2 long skinny pieces, 1 on top, 1 below. These are going to get glued to the top and bottom along the edges of the square. So I'm going to use liquid glue just to show you that it can be done. But I do recommend a glue stick. Mine is a little dried out. Or rubber cement. Glue is fine. It's just going to take a little longer to dry. So I'm going to take my glue and put a really skinny line right across the top line. And then I'm going to take my little tail and press it down so that it's right along that edge, and then the rest of it is sticking straight out like a tail. Press down nicely. Okay, bottom now. We're going to do another very, very, very skinny light line of glue. You don't need to put a lot. Don't put a lot of glue. And then we're going to stick the tail on top of that, right along that edge. Press firmly with your finger, and then your tail's going out that way. So that's the first step. We're going to set that aside. And we're going to get another square. This time we're going to get the fat strip here. So the fat strip is also going to get glued to your square, but this one is going to be glued in the middle instead of at the top and bottom, and it's going to be going out the opposite way. So since these are going out this way, see, those are going in that direction. This square, the tail, is going to be sticking out, pointing that way, and it's going to go right in the middle. So take your glue, and you can glue a little bit wider of a line, but still not very much glue. You're going to glue down your wide strip so that it's right in the center with a gap at the top and the bottom, and the long tail is sticking out that way. So now you have these two pieces. You have one with two skinny tails sticking out, and you have one with a fat tail sticking out. And if you line them up together side by side, you'll see that they kind of fit together a little bit like puzzle pieces. Yeah, they do, kind of like puzzle pieces. So here's the trickiest part. Once you have your two together here, sitting side by side, you are going to actually have them locking together. So you take them and you push them together so that the tails are going underneath each other and sticking out the other side. See that? And you're going to stop when they touch each other. Let me show you that one more time in case you got confused. You have your two pieces. One piece has the skinny tails coming out from the top and bottom. One piece has the fat tail that's been glued right to the center coming out this way. You line them up so that they're sort of like puzzle pieces fitting together, or like a key and a lock. And then you slowly push them together so that the tails are going under each other. Tails are going underneath each other. And you can kind of see them coming out the other side. And then you stop when they meet each other. That was really the hardest part. Everything that you guys just did was the hardest part. And now things are going to be a little easier. So once you got here, what you're going to do is you're actually going to see that you can fold the tails over. You're going to fold the tails over and then glue them down. So let me start with the fat one. I'm going to fold this down and make a little crease. I'm going to take my glue and make that permanent. So I'm going to take my glue and put a little bit in the middle down there. And I'm going to press that tail down. So the fat tail has come up and around, folded, and glued down. Do you think we're going to do the same to the other side? Yes, we are. These two little tails get folded over as well. They get folded over, and they're going to get glued down too. So let's take a little glue, put a skinny line here. Do one at a time. Fold that. And we don't want that tail to be too long. We want it to stop right at the middle there. If you have way too much tail, you can trim it. We're going to stick that down now. This one. Let's put a very thin layer of glue. Again, don't put too much glue because then your book will take forever to dry. And you're gonna fold that down, press it. One more step. The other two pieces of paper. These two pieces of paper now get to be glued right down on the top of this book that you've done so far. Right down on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of glue and we're just going to lightly dot the whole surface with glue. I don't want to put too much glue on because, like I said, it will take just forever to dry. But I'm kind of like putting dots all over it because I do want glue on all surface of the book that we just made. And you could maybe use your finger to spread it around, but beware if you do that, you're gonna have some kind of dirty, sticky, messy hands. But you know what? I don't think there's anything too wrong with that because artists have messy hands and that's fine. So you're gonna get a thin layer of glue all over that top surface of what you just made. And then you're gonna take these two pieces of paper that are left over, start one at a time, and you're gonna just put it right down on there like a sandwich. Smooth it out. Now this one. And you can have a little gap in the middle. Just a little gap. Smooth that out. Make sure that the whole thing is nice and firmly stuck down. No corners peeling up or anything. Again, craftsmanship is very important here, craftsmanship. So when you're done with that, it should be white and blank on one side. And then the other side, you can kind of see that there's the thick tail there and the thinner tails down there. We want to wait for this to dry before we decorate it and before we write on it. So set that aside to dry, especially if you used liquid glue, because this takes the longest to dry. And once it's dry, we are going to make our story, and I'll show you how your mystery book unfolds. Okay? All right, so if your book feels totally dry, then you are ready to move on to learning how to unfold your secret book. You know it's totally dry if it doesn't feel cold. Sometimes, especially if you used liquid soap, you can tell that it's still too wet because when you put your fingers on it, it feels cold. But this one doesn't. It feels totally dry, and yours might take a little bit of time to get to that point. But when it is, you're going to pick it up and you're going to see that you have your front cover, just like a regular book, back cover. And when you open it up, you have two blank pages on the inside. Now, this crack in the middle is where the magic happens. So to find your secret compartment, you're going to open that book up way back and turn those pages back. And you're going to find this crack in the middle, take your fingers, stick it in there, and turn it inside out. Now we have a totally secret part of the book. Let me show you that again. I'm going to close the secret part, and I'm going to kind of pull it back around. Okay, we have the regular front, back. Open it up to the middle, pull those pages back, use your finger to, sometimes it's kind of hard to find it, but you use your finger to peel open that inside to reveal the hidden part of the book. So the way you can turn this into a history mystery book for Lucy Higgs Nichols, you can actually name your book, write on here with a pencil, The History and Mystery of Lucy Higgs Nichols on the cover. And on the back, you can write by your name and the year. And then on the inside, you can write history. And this is where you're going to write and or draw about the part of Lucy's story that stood out in your mind the most. And then the inside part, let's see if we can find it in this one, would be the mystery. And on this page, this is where you can write all of the hidden, mysterious parts of Lucy's life that we can only imagine. So for example, how did she feel when she was running away from that farm in Tennessee? Other questions that we don't know. How did Mona die? Where is Lucy's grave? Why did people forget about it? How did she feel when she finally became free and was able to buy her own home? Those things we will never know. They are mysteries to us. At least they're mysteries now. Maybe we'll find out more about them later. But you can draw scenes, you can make this colorful, or you can write if you like words. You can even write poetry if that's what you like. But then you can turn it back inside out and have the history on the other side. So the history is pretty easy to find, just like history in a textbook today. But the mystery, well, that's a little tougher to find. So you could use this book format for other types of histories and mysteries. If you have a family member that you would like to write a little book about them and something that we know about them and something you don't know about them, you could even write it about yourself. It could be a secret message that says something about you that you'd like to keep hidden. There's all kinds of different ways that you can use this for stashing secret knowledge and secret information. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson, and don't be afraid to go back and watch it over again. Try it again if it didn't work out the first time, and good luck.